It's the first different one.
Yes. They finally changed Sailor Stars, they changed the theme. Now at this point, talk about some of the characters they have added and how much trouble America has. Now, how many people have never seen that before? And odds are, especially if you watch the American one, you probably never even saw any of these episodes because the challenge for the writers got harder and harder. So first challenge was, we have girl from the future who's anciently old, who's constantly flirting with her dad. Easy, we can just change the dialogue in America, easy fix. The second, and the most famous Sailor Moon challenge of all time. The Outer Scouts are introduced. To the Outer Scouts are Neptune and Uranus. In the American cartoon, cousins. They were very friendly cousins. Because in Japan, they are a lesbian couple. And the American writers are like, how do we translate the lesbian couple into family-friendly entertainment? Oh, wait, we'll pretend they're from Kentucky. Yeah, so that's the most everybody hears about. Yes, there's the lesbian couple. They're great characters. Then you have the second set of Outer Scouts. The other two. Pluto, Saturn. I'm not getting the Starlight.
No. Yeah, Pluto and Saturn are just Pluto and Saturn. Yeah. Yes. They even kept Saturn's original name in the dub. That was actually pretty impressive. Her name was there was a couple gender changes earlier this season.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the names.
All right, then you're on to the Starlight.
But explain the little girl, how old she is, and how creepy that is.
What? Are she?
Saturn.
Well, Saturn is basically the thing with Saturn is she is the senshi of death. And basically she shows up the whole universe and just go up and do something smoke.
That's when she grows up.
She doesn't grow up.
That's what I'm saying. That's the problem is if she ever does, that's what the trigger was supposed to be.
Well, the trigger was that, if she hits a certain age, well, that gets into Pharaoh 90, but basically if she becomes senshi, the universe will destroy itself, and she basically is meant to destroy. That's her job. Actually, I believe they do call it Darkness Night.
Oh, how pleasant, warm and fuzzy. Now,
they just made it a little fuzzy.
So, challenge number one for American writers. Girl flirting with her dad, creepy, we can fix the dialogue. Challenge number two, lesbian couple. Okay, we'll make them cousins. Not the easiest one in the world, but they did it. Challenge number three, which was never achieved, was the Sailor Starlights. Okay, you can tell me what they are. For those of you not familiar with these characters, they are Sailor Scouts that are searching for their princess. They've come to Earth, and they are 3 women Sailor Scouts. In order to hide out on Earth, they transform into 3 boyish-looking guys that are in a boy band, effectively, that are really, really popular. So they are gender-changing when they transform to their Sailor Scout mode. Here's where it gets even better, kids. One of them winds up being into a romantic storyline triangle with Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask, because he/she is in love with Sailor Moon. They do that to the American writers, they were like, yeah, we're done.
However, the Starlights were always women just dressing as men. They were never changing their actual gender. Whereas in the anime, they changed their gender. They were boys. They were not in their little black outfits.
So you never saw that season in America because, quite honestly, after the cousins thing, the Americans had nothing they could come up with. There was no evidence that was going to get them through the storyline that there was a woman pretending to be a man that was in love with a woman that was in love with another man. That is exactly what was happening.
I heard a rumor, I have never confirmed this, but it sounds horrible.
I think I've heard,
About in Italy, they did air this, and their way of getting around the situation was whenever the guys would transform into the women, you go, let's call on our twin sisters!
Yes! They did this, the twins with it, yeah.
Yeah, how did they work? I don't know.
I don't know, it's Italian. So yeah, very fun season. The other thing that comes into play, yes?
She just said that, yes, they did do that.
It only,
They did do
find the fan subber that can find the Italian translated and redo it in English so we can all watch and laugh. So the next thing to talk about before we get too further into this, because it gets lost in translation, other awkward things that come out of this season that you never get to see. One of my favorite things about Sailor Moon, and one of the staples of the show, is when a Sailor Scout attacks. And what do they do when they attack? They do some glorious pose, and then they attack. Because nothing says awesome to me like the hot, pseudo-slutty 15-year-old blonde constantly saying, Venus loved me chain.
Except for Indy Sailor Star makers packages.
Star gentle uterus.
Yes. Yes. It's gentle. It's like gentle uterus.
Star gentle uterus.
Star gentle uterus is her attack. Yes. Yeah. Don't ask. We don't understand that for ourselves. So my personal favorite is still.
That's some Japanglish right there.
Which one? No. Dead Scream. That's the creepiest thing here. Dead Scream and World Shaking. Anybody's watched the show knows what I'm talking about? Everybody has no idea. They have these cool attacks that, like, depending on their presentation. Because Sailor Moon is always cutesy. It's always, look at me, I'm twirly, my legs are here. You get the Honor Scouts, they need some serious business. And Uranus is the one. She gets this. She's kind of the butch of the couple, and she very much turns around and she does the world, and then just shakes it, throws it down, and it's like, oh, you're all screwed. And then Dead Scream. Nothing's more intimidating after a bunch of teenage girls screaming attacks, like the one that just stands there for a moment and whispers, and suddenly like haunted beings come to screw with you. Yeah.
The Alders were really hardcore. The Alders show up and they didn't.
Yes.
Just downright.
Yes, well, thus ends the 200 episodes of Sailor Moon. Never to be seen on television, in American attention. But, yeah, no more new television episodes of Sailor Moon.
Animated.
Or were there? There were 3 movies they put out afterwards to keep it going. Very much in X-Files fashion, with the series still going on, but they're going to throw in theaters to keep tension going. Sailor Moon R, Sailor Moon S, Sailor Moon Supers.
This one, the middle one, the Luna story, this actually wasn't wrong. This actually had a wrong. The other 2 were.
Yes. And one of them tonight we will be grilling at Mystery Anime Theater 3000. Did anybody hear of Mystery Anime Theater 3000 last year?
Yeah.
Oh, you were here last year? Okay, yeah. It's a hoot. This is what happens when you drink a lot and talk about movies with an audience. We've done it at like 10 conventions now.